I'm Vince Rockwell from Spring Lake originally, and I came down to Ocracoke on a fishing trip. And I've been back every year since and built a house the next year. In fact, right over there, when I came down, I walked up to get some supplies off the Jack's dock, and a fellow by the name of Newell, Russ Newell, said, "What are you doing, Yank?" I said, "I'm fishing." He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "New Jersey." He says, "Why don't you buy a house?" And the fishing was so good, I came back the next day and I said, where's that property you want to sell me?" And I bought it that year and built my first house.
My name is John Ivy Wells. Everybody calls me John Ivy. I've lived here all my life. I was graduated from high school, one of the mounted Boy Scout troop, and I worked here at the community store in the late 50s and up until 1960, I believe. I'm not sure, can't remember exactly how long. Over where the Coyote Music Den is, there were two big oil tanks, fuel tanks, when I worked here as a kid. And all the gasoline would come in on a barge, and barge would tie up on the dock. And Danny Garish, who was the owner's son, Jesse Garish was the owner at the time, and his son Danny was in charge of coordinating everything there. My job was to climb the tank and get on top of the tank and observe to make sure too much fuel was not pumped in, so where the fuel ran over. Well, Danny was usually a pretty easygoing guy, but he would get really nervous about that. So he would frisk us before we go up there. He would frisk us top to bottom, make sure we had no matches, cigarettes, because at that time, 13-year-olds, we smoked cigarettes like crazy. But Danny would, and he would not let us come down. He wouldn't let us come off the tank because he would make sure we had no matches and cigarettes. And if we came down, we might decide to get a cigarette. So he wouldn't let us off of the top of that tank. We'd stay up there for hours until the tank was full. I also drove the grocery truck, delivery truck. They had an old Studebaker truck when I first started working here at the community store, but I was not driving. I did not drive it, but they got a new red Ford truck, and I was about 13 at the time, and that was deemed old enough to deliver groceries in Ocracoke, because there were no state roads then. We still had the concrete road.
What was that, from the Second World War?
Yes, the road from the Second World War. So we didn't have driver's license because it was not a state maintained road, so no driver's license were required. But it was lots of fun because this was a big V8 engine in that red Ford truck. And that warehouse, we would have cases of Coke, bottles of Coke stacked to the ceiling. In the summertime, that was the hottest thing going, was cold Coca-Colas. And we'd have hundreds of crates of those things in the warehouse. And I remember we had a truck delivery back into the building, not hard, but just tap the building. And these cases of Coca-Cola just cascaded all over, and it was lethal in there. There was bottles exploding, shrapnel,
right.
And all those hot Coca-Cola bottles, when they burst, they just shattered, splattered.
Is that when they had cocaine in it?
No, unfortunately that was before, no, or fortunately, maybe.
Well, they brought the trucks came in on the north end and landed on the beach, didn't they?
Well, most of our deliveries came on the Bessie, Virginia, when I was here. Before the ferry system really got moving, Van Henry O'Neill ran the Bessie, Virginia in here. The boat would go to Washington, go up the river to Washington, North Carolina, and bring back supplies. He would bring 55-gallon drums of gasoline, well, everything, Cokes. I can remember 200-pound bags of fertilizer. We tried to figure out how we're going to get it up out of the hull of the boat. I remember John Whitaker sending automobiles over. One of the first cars I remember seeing come off that boat was a yellow and white 1957 Chevrolet. And I remember sitting here, and over on the other side we had our horses tied over next door and watching them put the first paved roads in. Well, the concrete road was here that the Navy had put in during the Second World War, but they were widened and put in the first blacktop road, and we was hanging out with the horses watching. It was like this was the only thing, the big thing that was happening on the island at the time, a paved road.
Oh, here, this was it was just a fun place. Every time I'd get up, I'd go just like I go today to the coffee house, because all the older fellows were there, and of course they were uninhibited. I mean, it was fun, just fun, and laughing, and never talked very much about it. I can't ever remember them talking about politics. It was always things of the day. And of course fishing. This square is the character of Ocracoke, embodied in the entire area here.
This is one of the few original deals that's left here is the community square, and it would sure be a shame to see it go the way of condos and marinas and that type thing. Yeah, it would just be a real shame to see it.